Hello and welcome to episode 22. My name is Ross.
And I'm Craig.
It's time to put the kettle on because it's tea time.
It's been hot.
Mine's very hot. It's beautiful. Right. Okay. Let's start off with a little bit of news. Starting with SteelZero. It's a cool name. It was launched yesterday. It's a new global initiative bringing together leading businesses to drive transformation in the steel sector. So far, companies such as BHC, Bourne Group, and Ørsted have signed up. But I'm afraid I didn't see, is it Tata Steel?
Tata Steel, yeah.
Didn't see them on the list, I'm afraid. Maybe the locals, your locals, you need to have a word. I'm of course referring to the Port Talbot Steelworks.
Yes.
As far as I can tell, they're not doing anything. So maybe you need your MP to tell them to participate. Launched yesterday, crack on with it.
They're not Welsh or British, they're Indian, as an FYI. I don't think they care.
They can still join the group as far as I can tell, because Ørsted isn't British either.
I mean, Tata's pretty big, so they probably think they're too big. I don't know.
I think Ørsted's pretty big though, isn't it?
I don't actually know much about the steel industry. I kind of assumed that they must have been dying for a long time.
I assumed in Port Talbot you'd have like cards of trumps of steel companies. Is that not true? Growing up, we had Pokemon. You had no steel company trumps. No.
It's very much a Port Talbot thing.
Okay.
It stays in Port Talbot.
Fair enough. So that's something that should be happening in your area, isn't? But I've got more Welsh news in case you didn't like that one. We talked about tidal power last week. Well, there is a £35 million scheme that is being not done but currently investigated as to be located near Anglesey in North Wales. For those who don't know, it would cover 13 square miles of seabed. And it would generate 240 megawatts, equivalent to 180,000 households being powered. So quite a big thing. Obviously, there are concerns about diving seabirds and dolphins and porpoises and whatever else. There will be some extruding elements to the structure. Apparently, no higher than 6 meters. But obviously, people are also concerned that it would decimate the beautiful area that it is. So yes, it's got a still team of people that aren't happy, but that could be, well, that's what we were talking about, whether we're going to get tidal. Looks like we might.
Cool. Yes, I mean, that area does need something, to be honest, because they were building a nuclear power reactor that would be built by Hitachi, and they pulled out. So I think that was in the works for years, and so that's nice that Anglesey's getting something.
Well, not definitely. Depends how many people complain. And then finally, just another sort of bit of good news. I think most of mine have been quite good news. I think is studied by British Columbia that found that recycled concrete can work just as well, if not better, than conventional concrete, which is particularly good because waste materials from construction and demolition contribute to 40% of the world's total waste. So anything like that is a good thing.
So how are they doing that exactly? So literally destroying a building, all the rubble, remaking the cement, build something else.
I didn't look into the process this time, so I couldn't answer that question properly. But basically, they did a study of recycled concrete versus normal concrete just to see how it performs. How they got there, I don't know. But what they found was that it performs just as well. So therefore, we shouldn't waste all the aggregate material that we throw away.
Fantastic. Cool. And I'll continue your trend with more good news.
Yay!
And I've got a theme all over Britain. We're going to start at the top. We're going to start with Scotland. So Scottish homes will be the first in the world to use 100% green hydrogen.
Oh, it's great, lad. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought all hydrogen's green, but okay. So green hydrogen, 100%. It's going to first contribute 300 homes in Fife. And they'll be given free boilers, heaters, cooking appliances, etc., which ultimately is a great result for Scotland.
Yeah, great.
This is a part-funded initiative. It's more research and a study to sort of see how old gas pipes can be reused as green hydrogen pipes. Yeah. So they're going to start doing this from 2022. It's going to cost nothing for these people. It's no extra charge. Yep, in 2 years. And if the project is successful, they'll start ramping up and they look to have hopefully 1,000 homes in the first phase. And yeah, I mean, if that trial is successful, that'll be rolled out across the country.
I don't think it's any coincidence that they're getting, I mean, like to get free stuff, you'd think, wow, we never do that. But it's hydrogen, which allows the companies that produce natural gas to still exist.
Pretty much. They're reusing their pipes, and it's part funded by the national grid. So they're kind of saying, we got, I don't know, miles of this piping that we've kind of stopped using so much. How about we use it for this instead? So either way, good result for Scotland. And moving slightly south, England. So you guys are...
for that one.
Yeah, it's just normal. So you guys are looking to basically benefit the environment, and you're doing this by the biggest farming shake-up in 50 years. Right now, the farming industry in England occupies 70% of your land. And they take roughly 1.6 billion in subsidies just to sort of exist.
Oh, makes sense.
But what they're saying is those funds will start coming to an end. And they will instead be spent on nature. So the actual specifics of how it's going to be spent on nature was very vague.
Yeah, it sounds vague.
Which means they're obviously still trying to figure this out. But they have basically said that money will come to an end as a subsidy for farmers by 2028 and will instead be spent on natural improvement projects. So cleaning up rivers, that type of stuff, this was a suggestion.
Or in some cases, probably just leaving the land the hell alone.
Yeah.
Essentially, they'll start paying farmers just not to do anything. Just leave it. Just don't touch it. Stop killing the soil and just leave it alone.
I mean, what they seem to be suggesting as well is that they'll help those farmers sort of pivot their business. Right now, as mentioned, 7% of English land is farms. A good part of that is livestock-based farms. So they're looking to reduce the income of livestock farms by 80% by 2024. So that's a significant reduction, which means a lot of those farms will be no longer profitable. So I would hope they would pivot into something that's not so damaging to the environment, basically.
Okay.
So very big, bold changes.
Yeah. There's been lots of I don't fully understand it, but there seems to be a lot of companies who are not, like, there seems to be a disparity between our targets and what the government are doing to help us reach those targets. So there seems like there's big companies like Tesco's and people who are sort of pushing Boris to up his ante a little bit in order to help them to achieve the goals that he set.
Right. Okay. Perfect sense. But I mean, this in total apparently was made possible by us leaving the EU. Apparently the EU agriculture policy is dreadful. Was preventing a lot of this stuff from happening. So now we're out. Well, not fully out yet, but we're basically out, and we can now start making our own policies. And the decisions we've made is we're going to stop giving you all of your money, and see how that works out. But yeah, 70% of England is farms. That's a mad number.
That is a mad number.
Where do you guys all live?
Maybe I live on a farm I didn't even realise. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
there's
a
a
couple of
park
cows
outside.
walking past.
Although you have to be careful of giving credit to Brexit for too many things. As Matt Hancock got into trouble today for exactly that, with regard to the fact that we are first to approve the vaccine. Woo!
Yes.
I didn't read the whole story, but I heard he's got a backlash for saying that it was Brexit. Thanks, Brexit.
Yeah, he basically said this because the EU didn't get in our way. I think that's kind of the same in here, as in we didn't have to run this past the EU, therefore it's a benefit that we have to do that. You know, politics, all that type of crap. With the whole first to approve the vaccine thing, I'm a bit dubious personally. It's only been out a year from inception to testing, so I feel that there's more to do. But that's not the topic of this thing.
No, it isn't.
Anyway,
it never will be actually.
No, we haven't really mentioned the pandemic that much. You know, we did this entire thing in a pandemic, and
there's a pandemic.
Yeah. Anyway, the
environment.
environment.
On YouTube, we get demonetized probably. Oh well.
Oh yeah. We haven't got that option yet. But finally, we come on to Wales. And it's about time that Wales is doing something about the electric vehicle charging system. Right. So you and I know firsthand how poor that is when we try to get, 30 miles and realize once you leave the comfort of the M4, charging facilities become less and less.
Yeah, you're down to hotels and 3-pin plugs.
Yeah, I mean, so we ended up, we didn't really go that far, but we ended up getting to Dowlais, which is part of Merthyr, as in the county, from Bridgend, and we ended up having to stop in Asda for 3 hours just to charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun time. So what can you do for 3 hours in Dowlais Asda? Yeah.
Not enough.
But the good thing is that a vision has been proposed by Wales that by 2025, all users of electric cars and vans in Wales will be confident that they can access electric charging infrastructure when and where they need it. And they've done this with a £30 million investment over the next 5 years, which is quite big stuff for Wales because we don't really spend a lot of money on stuff like that.
I'm assuming this is as long as you're not driving a Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, not much can help you with that, to be honest.
Well, I mean, to put this into perspective, can you guess the percentage of cars in Wales right now that are electric?
2%,
or just 2 cars?
No, 2%.
2 cars might be actually closer. It's 0.17%. It's absolutely dismally tiny. So
out by an order of magnitude, what's the matter?
Yeah, I don't know how many cars are in Wales, but I mean the chance of seeing an electric car, given that percentage, is pretty rare. So every time you come to Wales in your Leaf,
you've got a Tesla supercharger only a few miles from your house.
I do, but every time we've been there, it's not exactly been full, is it?
No, but I have seen cars there. I've seen 3 or 4 there each time I've been there, I think. So I got the impression that there might not be. I suppose it's 1.7. They're all there. They're all there. They're all clung to the M4.
Yes, the M4 has good infrastructure. Nowhere else has. There's a guy who lives just up here as well who does have a Tesla, Model 3, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's the only guy I've seen in my local area who actually has an electric car. Might see a Leaf every now and again if you pop down IKEA, but that's kind of it.
Speaking of Model 3s, side note, sorry. I'm going to be driving one on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I have a test drive booked to go and try out the old Model 3. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll let you know how it goes.
Test drive's free.
Well, I haven't paid for it, so yeah.
I mean, because you think of like like people buy like I don't know days on the track as like gift experiences for Christmas.
Yeah.
Could someone actually just book a Tesla drive around for Christmas for free? I'm
Theoretically,
not. I'm not
I mean, you're only getting
suggesting
it for an
you do
hour.
that.
You only get it for an hour. It's not like it's you're going to do much with it in an hour. Especially as you probably spend the first 5-10 minutes doing the setup thing, learning how to use the car.
Like register a Tesla account.
Well, let's not go that far, but it's not normal if you've never been in a electric car. There are a few things to adjust to. It doesn't make you want to just get in and go straight away. You want to just sort of go, well, I can, like my car, for example, moves without pressing anything. That took me like a day or two to adjust to that. That I could just turn the car on and it'll go. Oh, bloody hell! Right. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven an electric car, so we'll be interesting. But even though back to Wales's dismal electric car number of 0.17%, the government's ban on combustion engines, which come into effect in 2030, as we previously discussed, part of Boris's Big Ten. Obviously, Wales are expecting that number to start increasing quite quickly. So we have a proposed need of 30 to 50,000 fast chargers and 2,000 to 3,500 specifically ultra rapid chargers by the end of the decade. So that's how much people have decided that we need in Wales. So right. £30 million is what they're going to spend to go about doing that. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I have no idea how much they cost, but I think they are quite expensive because it's land-based, isn't it? You need land. All these things, but it's expensive because you need to occupy an area.
Yeah, so basically we're going to build 53,500 chargers over Wales.
Yeah.
I mean, heavily needed. And that's my final tour of Britain. I specifically said Britain, not the UK, because I have nothing on Ireland, so I didn't want to leave them out. But as a final tidbit of news, electric cars can now display a green number plate from next week.
Oh,
have you seen this?
I'd forgotten about it though. Yes. Presumably I would have, do I apply for one? Do you know how it works?
Yes, you can. So the government incentive to promote battery vehicles starts 8th of December next week. And in summary, a green number plate will help authorities identify that you are a zero emission car. And new or old EVs can apply. So it's kind of like a little green stick on your number plate. I'm not sure if you get a new number plate or you just get a green stick with colour on it.
Cinema ticket on a Wednesday with that? I mean, what does it give?
All that's proposed right now is it's a way to determine that you are a zero emission car. And they've left it to local councils to decide on incentives in their area. So the things they are suggesting are cheaper parking in town, use of bus lanes, that type of stuff. Yeah. Type of stuff that you may expect. So either way,
stuff that they'll remove in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
When you're 0.2% of all your cars, it suddenly becomes 20% of your cars, then you'll go, wait a second, we need some more car parking fees.
Yeah. Well, based on Rishi Sunak's idea of pay per mile of the road network, it's all going to come and get us sooner or later.
Yeah.
But so you should apply and you should get one and test it out and see what sort of goodies you get.
All right. I might investigate what goodies I might get before I bother applying, but yeah.
I mean, you may as well just be that guy with the green number plate. Oh,
yeah,
what's
right.
that green thing number plate? Oh, I'm got an electric car, mate.
It's because I'm special.
Me. That's me. Yeah.
It's because I care about people more than you do.
I passed my test with full marks. You can get a green stick on your number plate. Looks like you didn't. Anyway, that's all the news I have. All good bits of news, which is nice. What is today's subject?
Oh, well, I don't know if you've noticed, Craig, but it is December.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. First week
Just
of
about.
December, and that means Christmas is just around the corner. So one should expect lots of fun, lots of laughter, family time, and unfortunately, a conifer genocide. In other words, it's time to get a Christmas tree. So, in the interest of all things sustainable, today I will be talking to you about what you can do to make your Christmas just a little bit more environmentally friendly with regard to your Christmas tree. So the first question to deal with is whether to go real or fake. So, Craig, do you have any thoughts on the subject? Well, no, I actually don't want your thoughts. I just want to know, would you go with real or would you go with fake?
Real, and I already have gone with real. I sort of like deck up, I get a tree 1st of December. That's the rule. That's always been the rule. You'll always be
You
the
should have
rule.
done this last week.
Yeah. You missed me. You missed me.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. Well, let's first look at real tree statistics numbers. According to the Carbon Trust, an average size tree, we're talking about a 2 meter, 6 foot type tree, that has been cut down and disposed of in landfill produces a carbon footprint of around 16 kilograms of CO2. Okay. A tree that's thrown in landfill will get covered by other stuff, which will starve it of oxygen, which will force it to break down by a process known as anaerobic decomposition. And the problem with anaerobic is that the process produces greenhouse gases, in particular methane, which is much worse as a greenhouse gas than CO2 is. So that's why we don't want to put them on landfill. However, obviously, we don't have to do that. So how else can you dispose of a tree? Well, in most of the following ways, any of the following ways will reduce that 16 kilograms by about 75%, down to about 4 kilograms. And there are a few options available to you. One, burn it.
Oh, really?
Now, burning a tree will release the carbon that the tree has spent approximately 12 years absorbing. And worse than that, it will kind of basically release all of it into the atmosphere all at once. But because it's only releasing what it originally gained in the first place, it's considered to be carbon neutral.
Cheating.
Is a bit. However, we should also remember that burning wood, where there's fire, there's also smoke. And that means that you're also releasing other stuff into the air, such as mercury and carbon monoxide and a few other nasty things. So whilst it might not be releasing any extra carbon in the air, it is releasing other chemicals and stuff in the air, because that is the process of burning. So the only sort of caveat for that, where I would consider it to be not as bad, as if you are burning it actually to make heat, as if you're using it to heat your home. Because although you've still got that gas stuff, which isn't great, at least you're burning that as a replacement for something else, probably natural gas in your boiler or whatever. Or if you're in a cabin or in a caravan or wherever else, then solid fuel might be your only source. So that would be sustainable fuel source, which you've also used as a Christmas tree. That's kind of cool. That's okay. Option number 2, we would take it to your local recycling centre, or make use of your council's free disposals if they have one. So most recycling centres that I've been to, at least, have a garden waste section that you can take a tree to, and they should dispose of it properly. So big garden area, chuck it all in, and then they will basically compost everything they can. Everything that can't be composted, they will generally shred, and then they can use it. Well, they can then compost it or mulch it or whatever they want to do with it. Either way, it's disposed with properly. There are also drop-off locations. So in my town, there are, at least there was last year. I haven't seen what there are this year, but there were car parks dotted around the town where you could take your tree to, and then it was a sort of designated tree drop-off zone on a particular day in a particular car park. And so you just take it there and drop it there, and then they'll get rid of it for free. So that's another decent way of doing it. Sorry, that was option 3. I didn't start with 3, take it to the councils. Sorry about that. That was 3. This is 4.
Okay.
Basically, no, option 4 is that you grab a saw, you hack it up, and then you basically use it for your own composting in your own garden, if you can. All of those, as I said, better than putting it in landfill. That's one thing you just don't want to do. However, there is another little idea which I'd like to share with you. And it applies to any of the 4, really, that before you dispose your tree, you could, if you want to be creative, you could turn some of the branches into a cool little gift even, for the magically minded child. And all you need is some sanding paper, some oil or varnish, and something very hot with a tip. And I used a soldering iron last year. And then you can make your very own personalized Harry Potter style magic wands.
Okay.
All right. I've got one in from last year. Now, it is ultimately a stick, but children are imaginative and creative. So what I did was basically, I don't know if I can get this close enough, but I basically drew some patterns on the edge just to make it a little more interesting. It was all sanded down. You know, you can do whatever you like. You can you can paint it if you wanted to, but that doesn't look quite as cool. But yeah, basically you've got a little thing, and then they can pretend to have magic wands. Whee! Do you know any Harry Potter?
Nice.
Things? Inferno Leviosa. Anyway, that's what I did with my son last year, and I was surprised because he mentioned it the other day. We were talking about Christmas trees, and he mentioned you could turn them into magic wands. So we clearly remembered from last year, which is impressive because he doesn't remember anything and he's 6. So yeah, that's a little top tip. He loved it. Anyway, so that's the real trees. I've covered them. What about the artificial ones? Now, they don't require cutting down. Nothing dies in the disposal, in the making of a Christmas tree. So one would presume that a artificial tree is better. At least I think I used to have that. I think that was the conventional wisdom at one point, that you shouldn't kill trees. You should get a fake one because you don't need to have a real tree. Anyway, so I think for a little while there, at least a few years, I probably also believed that was the case. However, the typical artificial Christmas tree is a steel frame with shredded PVC plastic basically all over it. And then occasionally, just for fun, they spray the edges of it with a latex paint. To create the snow frosting, of course, that's what it's for. But where are Christmas trees like the ones I just described, steel frames with a PVC on it? Where are they made, do you think?
I mean, I think the answer is obvious. 100% China.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, perfect source, always reliable. Most come from the Pearl River Delta in China. I was unable to find a UK manufacturer.
I am not surprised. There was actually a really weird story in Cardiff a couple of years back where Cardiff Council spent £50,000 buying a Christmas tree. However, it was artificial and it was from China. It was horrendous. Everybody mocked how bad it was. And then they found out they didn't actually buy it. They only rented it for £50,000. Had to send it back in 3 years' time. Horrendous deal. Whoever made that deal was an absolute idiot. But But yeah, that came from
Goodness.
China.
Right.
Well, it went back to China, and they must have flogged it to someone else.
Unbelievable. Right. Brilliant. That's fantastic. So these trees, they are made from PVC plastic. They are shipped over from China. So in terms of environmental impact, when you've already travelled nearly 5,000 miles before you've even made it to the shop that you're buying it from, it's not a particularly good start. But PVC is one of those plastics that you can recycle, right? So surely someone is at least making the trees out of recycled PVC. You would think. I would think.
You would.
Yeah. Simple answer to that is no. No, not really. The PVC that's usually used for trees is a composite. And whilst you can find on some websites talking about recycled plastic Christmas artificial trees, none of the websites that I found actually allowed me to actually buy anything. They either went to dead end links, or they were just seemingly talking about it but not providing any links to buy anything. So it doesn't seem like that's even a thing either. Yeah, not looking good so far. So the Carbon Trust, going back to them, we used their initial 16 kilogram test. They reckon that an artificial tree produces a carbon footprint equivalent to 40 kilograms. So over double that of a badly disposed tree, and it's 10 times worse than a real tree that you dispose of properly. So in theory, if you kept your artificial tree, if you bought one, for 10 years, then it would be equivalent to having 10 real trees. Yes?
Yeah.
In theory. However, and that would sort of be true. But obviously the problem with that is that the trees are generally made to be quite cheap and inexpensive. They're not really built to last particularly well. So most of the time they don't make it that far before the owner decides that they're not very aesthetically pleasing, which is ultimately its only purpose in life, is to be aesthetically pleasing. So most trees don't make it to their full 10 years. And just for extra fun, the PVC that's used in the tree will eventually break down and start to release some of the crap that's in it. And that will generally be 8-9 years before it starts doing that anyway. So basically it comes down to probably the more it's exposed to sunlight and stuff, the worse it'll get. But doesn't really work in any case to go with the old artificial.
So my choice was correct.
Your choice was indeed correct, yes.
Cool.
Not looking good for the artificial tree. At least a real tree over its 12-year living of being planted and stuff produces oxygen. It provides a habitat for wildlife and stuff. It's actually done something useful in its life, whereas an artificial tree hasn't, and is basically keeping the economy alive in China and doing nothing for anyone local. So obviously we should buy the trees real, and we should get them from locally sourced. So the UK grows and sells on average about 8 million trees a year, but despite that, we still import £3 million worth of trees, real ones, from outside of the UK, even though we can perfectly easily grow our trees ourselves.
Is it because all of England is basically farms full of animals?
Probably, yeah. Can't find enough space for it, yeah.
That subsidy's going to help.
Yeah. So again, if you want to help the UK economy and you want to help local businesses and stuff, then make sure that your tree is coming from nearby. So I've also got a real tree this year, and we also drove to a local. I drove in my electric car, I should point out, to collect the tree, put it in the back of a car, drove back. So, it had virtually no cost, carbon footprint from getting it from where it was grown to the house. Yay us. So the answer to the question obviously is real. Having a tree made of plastic created and imported from China is just too wasteful. So I implore everyone who hasn't already got one to get yourself a real tree grown as locally as possible. And if you get one now, like our local farm, you might even get it cheaper. Sometimes they do it cheaper early on. If you do that, you need to store it outside. You need to make sure it's got water. And then the idea is to bring it in as close to Christmas as you can. Certainly at the point that you want to start decorating it, bring it in then. And then it should last all the way through to the big day, which is the most important thing. When you're done with it, make sure that you dispose of it properly. Arrange for it to be collected and disposed of in the right way. Use it as mulch if you can in your garden, if that's something that you can do. Make wands with it, as I mentioned, or chop it up and use it to heat your home if you can do that. So, can we do any better than that, Craig?
I've thought about it a couple of times of, I don't know, it'd be cool if I can somehow allow my tree to survive. Like, can I go plant in my garden? But I feel like once it's been cut, it's sort of dying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really sure how I can do that.
The analogy being the tree that we put up in our houses is only the top half. The other half is under the ground. So you dissect a tree in half, it's pretty much dead.
Yeah. Where I actually got my tree from, it came with like a little whatever it's called, a baby tree root of some sort.
Right.
Which can be planted to produce a tree.
Right, okay.
So that was kind of like a little gift for the kids. So that is planted.
So that's a separate thing, yeah? You've got a separate little...
Completely separate, yeah. So I suppose in 12 years, I'll have another tree. So I suppose that's how that works, which is good, but obviously very time consuming. But otherwise, I don't know what else to do. I recycle mine, and that's I've always seen as the best I can do. Because I'm not sure if it's bad ideas.
Well, I've got a few other options for you, Craig. Option number 1. You can go completely unorthodox. Instead of having a conifer, you can have an indoor plant that's otherwise quite large that you keep in your house all year round, and just forego the standard format of a tree and just put decorations on any other plant that you've got and just do it that way. However, I appreciate that most people are going to go, doesn't sound particularly cool. But that is, we don't have to have a conifer tree.
No.
Option number 2. Oh, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, you keep saying conifer. I haven't actually got a conifer. There are different types of trees. I'm not sure if different types of trees are better or worse for the environment.
What have you got?
I got Norwegian fir.
Isn't that type of conifer?
I don't know.
I was using conifer, meaning the breed of the tree. I might be wrong on that one, maybe I am. But
So the Christmas tree is a standard conifer, yeah? Because there's different types, isn't there? Ones that
there's different
have needles and ones that don't.
Yes, but as far as I know, they all belong to the conifer family. But
cool. I obviously know nothing about trees. I will be quiet.
I mean, I don't know enough about them either, really. But yes, a Norwegian spruce is there's another one, isn't there? What's the other one? There's 2 most common ones. The spruce, I think, is the second most common one. There's probably one you mentioned, something fir tree.
The fir. The fir is the one that the pines don't drop.
Right. I think that one's like 80% of all trees are that one.
Fair enough.
So yes, option number 1 is you don't have one of that type of tree and you have something else. Option number 2 is that you keep your actual tree in your garden in a pot in the ground, and then obviously that will maximize, not maximize, it will reduce the maximum height that your tree will ever get to if it's in a pot. But you'll be able to go and get it in each year, and then it will never die. So that's one option. And then the other one is that you can even rent a tree or even adopt one. So like the Welsh people did, only not a dumb artificial one. You could actually rent a real life one. So there's a grow market. I think it apparently increased by something like 30% last year. So it's something that's slowly catching on. So you rent a tree. It's a cool idea. You basically you buy a tree perhaps when it's quite small, and then each year the tree is delivered to your home. You keep it in the pot whilst it's in your house. You water it, you look after it, blah blah blah. You decorate it, obviously. You even make it part of the family. Some people even go as far as naming their trees. It's a bit too far, personally, but whatever. And then after Christmas, the tree is collected and returned to the farm where it's been living the whole year, and then gets replanted into the ground. And then the following year, having now grown an extra foot, which the thing I like about this one is the way it's right. It's just a little silly thing, but the idea that basically your tree ends up growing along with your children, like your child.
Right, okay.
Year, so you start with a 3 foot, 4 foot tree, and then they come back next year, and then that same tree, who you've named Nigel, is now 5 foot tall, and it's bigger for your kids. And then the next year it's 6 foot, and then eventually it doesn't fit in your house. But I thought that was I like the idea that we've all got a tree that we've adopted, basically, and you can adopt them as well. You don't have to just rent them at a certain point. You can adopt them from sapling, and then I think you pay something like £10 a year, and you get regular updates on how Nigel's doing. And I just think that would be, and the prices didn't even look ridiculous either. I think it was £25 for the 4 foot tree or something. The pricing model is a bit unclear because there isn't many people doing this. It's like I say, it's a growing thing, but eventually I think this will be the normal way of doing it. And if you're the business that's running it, presumably you can either grow a tree for 12 years, cut it down, and then sell it for 30 quid, 40 quid, whatever it is. Or if you keep the tree, then you're not if you're getting money each year, if you're getting it's, I don't know, 20 quid a year or something, and it doesn't matter whether it's 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, whatever, and then over that time it's working up, that means you're getting potentially £80, £100 for the same tree. And admittedly, you have to take it somewhere and pick it up again, but the economies of scale should work out. So I think this will be a more common thing, and hopefully every sort of town will have a local tree supplier where you can do this, and we'll stop chopping them down.
Yeah,
you don't
Christmas tree nursery.
Basically, yeah. So that was definitely my clear favourite. And I think the idea that you can do that and have, basically no CO2 being emitted at all. People are more likely to look after their tree. The fact that you could name it and it becomes part of the family is very, Christmassy.
It is. I love it.
I like it. So
yeah,
that's it basically. If you can do it, then look into it. There's there's a few in London. Beyond that, it's a little bit scarce. But if you can go that route, go that route. Otherwise, screw the artificial trees. And obviously, if you've got an artificial tree and you've had it for a number of years and it still works, then obviously use that one. But if you don't, then don't buy a new one. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the rental market does sound pretty good, and the whole idea of changing the subsidy, of English land. I mean, yeah, an acre full of Christmas trees, you rent out yearly. That sounds like a good moneymaker for someone who, maybe this field wasn't very good, so that's why you used it for your sheep. Now you can't use it for sheep anymore because you can't afford that. So Going to keep 600 trees in plant pots. Cool. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Good business. And based on our chat the other day of rent everything, own nothing. I never even considered renting a Christmas tree and never owning one. But I think it makes perfect sense.
Well, I think the adopt angle is quite cool because essentially, it's like you pay like £1 or something, and then they put £1 towards planting a tree for you. But the idea that you could plant your own Christmas tree and almost just paying for the service to have it delivered to you every so often, then as a local producer, you just need to know how many houses, about how many families live in your town, and that's how many trees you need to have at maximum to service everybody. And like I said, it should work out over the period that because of some people are not going to be able to have. Some people are going to want an 8-foot tree. Some people want a 10-foot tree, but most people aren't going to be able to have them. So the idea that you could have your tree until the point when it grows too big for your house, but then it can still be used by someone else the following year, like a big shopping centre or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just the fact that, one day you could see Nigel just pride in place in the middle of town centre.
Yeah.
Like, that was my tree.
I know that tree. I recognise that tree anywhere. Nigel, is that you? You've grown, haven't you?
A couple of notches on the trunk where the kids were growing up.
Yeah.
there he is.
Oh, that's good. Put a notch on the tree and see whether the following year you've grown as quick as the tree has. Yeah,
I'll pay something on just in case they fob you off and go, sorry, Nigel died during the winter. Cheers, I don't know, Phoebe.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I saw him in the high street. Yeah, so that is my topic. Hopefully, some people haven't bought their trees enough, or haven't bought the trees, so they can actually listen to the advice. But
I would say most people do the whole 12 days of Christmas thing. So I think, you got a couple of weeks to hopefully convince someone to look at renting or adopting if that's an option in their area. That's pretty good. Yeah. Fantastic.
Cool. Right. Well.
Okay.
I'm done. I got a slight nosebleed, which is a lovely thing to happen live on the thing, isn't it? So luckily that's the end of the show, so I can go sort this out.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Thanks for watching. Remember to think, educate, and act, and we will see you. Oh, we're going to take a couple of weeks, aren't we, for Christmas? So it might be a little while.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so just
watch this.
Play by you.
We'll see you soon either way.
Cool. Bye bye.
Bye bye.